Hello, welcome back to Armchair Armory and welcome to the preview for our second Premier League game of the season against Leicester City at the Emirates Stadium. I guess before I talk about the game, which probably won't be for that long, I should probably talk about everyone's favourite Amazon documentary at the moment. The All or Nothing Arsenal documentary has dropped its first 6 episodes, so last week it was episodes 1 to 3. This in fact today as we're recording, which is Thursday the 11th of August, episodes 4 to 6 dropped, and I've watched all 6. I don't know whether there's people hanging with bated breath to find out what my reaction is to them. So far it's been really enjoyable. I watched the Manchester City one and I really enjoyed that. It made me sort of, I think I said this previously, that it made me respect Pep as a coach. Not saying that he, based on what he'd done previously, that I didn't, but kind of like seeing him in action was like, wow, this guy is probably one of the best managers in the world. And then the Tottenham one I didn't finish. I still had a couple more episodes to watch of that one, and I just never got round to it. But obviously with Arsenal, because it's the team I support, like I've watched them religiously, and I have to say that like I was pleasantly shocked by what I saw. Like I think I put a tweet out after the first 3 episodes saying, those of us that complain about what the club are doing and making up conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, we don't know anything. We don't know anything that's going on. And to be honest, like it was kind of refreshing to see a lot of what people have been saying, particularly about Mikel Arteta, kind of be debunked. So there was a lot of stuff around. It seemed very similar to the City and Tottenham ones. It was very much focused on the manager's interaction with the team and stuff like that. I mean, there was a little bit here and there. They've done little pieces on Bukayo Saka. They've done little pieces on Emile Smith Rowe, Granit Xhaka. We met Granit Xhaka's family and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that really shocked me was how kind of passionate and how aggressive Arteta can be when they're not playing well. I don't know what game it was after, but it was at the beginning. It was the cold open. For episode 4, and he was saying, "Oh, you're effing soft. You're this, all this kind of stuff," and just really going in on them, which I wasn't surprised about. And the fact that like I actually like the fact that he's very, very direct, and he's very, as Rob Holding put it, demanding. It was, and I've really enjoyed seeing so-called behind the curtain. Speaking of which, I didn't expect them to do this, but they seem to go into very, very high detail of the Aubameyang situation. And it sounded like, to be honest, if you wanted to be fair, it sounded like both parties were probably at fault at some point. I think it was a combination of both of them being stubborn to some extent. I think it is the fact that Aubameyang took the piss and Arteta was no longer going to budge on being being lenient with him, and unfortunately it came to a head of where Aubameyang had to leave the club. So whatever way you look at it, I know it's another thing that a lot of people have used to kind of bash the manager and say that his man management management skills are really bad and stuff like that. But I think throughout this series so far it's shown that that's not the case. It seems to me like every single time there's a reason for the Arteta outers to go in on him, it seems like they keep getting debunked. So the kind of like handling of Martinelli that came to fruition of playing really well and scoring and that kind of stuff. The Saliba situation, I know it's only been 1 game, but even in pre-season he looks really good, and he's come back and he's slotted right into the team. Yeah, I just feel, but even still, I think a lot of people are still gonna criticise the team and criticise the hierarchy because of they're just going to nitpick at the end of the day. For example, there's people taking the piss because Arteta decided to, I think this was in the 3rd episode when we played Liverpool at Anfield and lost 4-0, before he played You'll Never Walk Alone in a training session, And it backfired. I mean, I can understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to get them to feel what it's like going out to that, because Anfield is one of the most intense places in all of football. And it backfired. He did something that's one thing I'd say. Like his team talks, I think, were really good. Again, it's another thing people were taking the piss out of him for, because he was doing like diagrams and drawing like hearts and brains and all this kind of stuff. But that's the thing. Like, if you want to get an idea across, sometimes pictorially is the way you're going to do it at the end of the day. And I think it really does. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know people have complained and said, "Oh, why don't we actually see him like doing his tactics and that kind of stuff?" And it's like, well, it's in the public domain. Like, we don't really want. I don't think they showed that for Guardiola or Mourinho. So yeah, like you don't really want to see what your inner workings that detailed out there in the public, because otherwise, your competition will steal that. But yeah, and then going back to his team talks, even though I thought it probably did the team a disservice, the story he told about when we lost 5-1 to Liverpool, I think it was in 2010 or 11 or 12, I can't remember. And he said he just lost his head and just bottled it, basically. Whether that came across to the players, I'm not too sure about. But yeah, it was really interesting. It's been a really interesting documentary so far. Like I said, I'm very impressed with how, because Arteta's been painted as like incompetent in the media, amongst the like mainstream media and amongst fan media, and I think it's starting to show that he's not as incompetent as people think he is. They did a little piece on Granit Xhaka's family, and Granit Xhaka, and it makes me stand in my convictions about Granit Xhaka, because there's a lot of people that dish on him, mainly because they can't get over what happened at Crystal Palace 4 years ago. That's fair enough, but at the end of the day, I think for the past 2.5, maybe 3 years, he's been one of our best, if not our best central midfielder. In some games, better than Partey. So yeah, it's made me grow. It surprised me in a sense that I didn't expect. Some of the things I did, particularly with the manager. And it just shows me how much like they all want the club to do well, and they all want this change to happen. And the one thing I'll say again, going back to Arteta, is that I don't think anyone can there probably will still be people out there that deny it, but I think that he has made significant changes, significant positive changes to the perception of the club now. Before we were still highly seen as a banter club and all this kind of stuff, and I feel like that is slowly but surely changing. It seems like Man United are going in the opposite direction now, spending the entire transfer window going after Frankie de Jong, and then they probably won't get him in the end. I say that now, I'll probably sign him tomorrow. But yeah, no, it's been a really interesting documentary to watch, and it just goes to show that with a young team, that how inconsistent we were. It'll be interesting to see how they do the kind of end of the season, and how they try and paint that as like a positive thing. I mean, it was disappointing, but the positive out of it was that there was progression, that we were playing better football. There seemed to be an identity. We climbed up the table, despite the fact we didn't have a great run in the domestic, well, apart from the Carabao Cup, but that was against Liverpool. We didn't have a great domestic run. All in all, it was still pretty good to see, to see us climb up the table and at least get back into Europe. So I don't know. Like I've said before, like I for this season, I don't necessarily. I'm not one of these people that are saying top 4 or bust, that he has to get back into the Champions League, because I know how difficult it is. I know that I sort of agree with some of the Sky Sports pundits that have said Chelsea, I think Gary Neville said it, and I don't really agree with him often, that Chelsea and Man United have to have really bad seasons for us to get into the top 4, and I think that's true. I also think that Spurs have to have a bad season as well, because I think it's premature to be saying that because of the people that Spurs have signed, even though they signed well, that means they're automatically in the top 4. Like, Southampton is at the end of the day, and yeah, fair enough, they won 4-1, doesn't mean anything. Let's see what happens when they come up against a Liverpool or a City, and whether things have turned a corner. Because if they manage to kind of, particularly at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, if they manage to come up and beat Liverpool or Man City in at home or at the Etihad or at Anfield or whatever, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, Spurs are in the picture. But yeah, I still think it's going to be tough, and I don't know if we're 100% there yet. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think we're 100% there yet, because I feel like the signings have dried up a little bit now, and we definitely need another central midfielder, and I can't see that coming in now because there's been no concrete rumours or anything like that. So we'll see. But that brings me on to the main topic of this, well, what's meant to be the main topic of this video, which is Leicester City, 3 o'clock Saturday at the Emirates. So we've just come off of the back of, well, not just come off, but the first day of the season, last Friday, a week ago, tomorrow as we're recording this, we beat Crystal Palace 2-0. Decent, encouraging performance. As I said at the time, it was a nice new look Arsenal. We looked like we were a completely different team to last season, even the back end of last season in the first 15 minutes or so. And then there was a bit of game management problem in the second half, which they had chances, and if it wasn't for Saliba and Ramsdale, we probably would have conceded. I think the own goal that we scored just before the end of the game probably killed it off and gave us the 3 points, essentially, allowed us to coast a little bit more. And for a team like Leicester, you can't give away chances like that, because people like Jamie Vardy and Ashley Barnes and people like that will put those away every single time. The reason why I mentioned the central midfielder links is because obviously it'll be interesting to see what happens with Youri Tielemans, whether Youri Tielemans comes in, whether he plays on Saturday. If he doesn't play on Saturday, it's hard to say, but people know what that normally means. That normally means he's discussing his future and all this kind of stuff. But there's also been a rumour out there that Arsenal are willing to wait until the end of the season to get him on a free rather than paying £32 million. But, like I've said before, I don't pay attention too much to rumours. It's something to go on, but not like something you can say, oh yeah, this is definitely happening, until a respected journalist comes out and says it, or it's on the Arsenal website. I don't really like talking about it. It's just hearsay. It's just, as Bruce Pritchard from the wrestling world says, it's just rumour and innuendo. But yeah, I don't know, Leicester don't look that great. From what I saw of the highlights of them against Brentford, they don't look great defensively, and even attacking wise they don't look as good as they were. So I don't know, I think it can go either way. I do think we'll get over the line, being that it's the first home game of the season, home league game of the season, a brand new team. I think the fans are a lot more up for it this time, so I think we will win it. I'm going to predict 2-1 again to Arsenal, and if we can go into the end of August, early September, if we can go into that with maximum points, then whoop-de-doo, it'll be great to get off to a really good start. I think the potential is there. I just don't know. It's too early to say whether we're top 4 contenders or not. But yeah, Leicester's going to be tougher than Palace, I think. Well, then again, I say that. I think Palace at home are always pretty good, whereas Leicester haven't got a great away record. They haven't been the same team since that 15-16 Premier League win. I feel like they've kind of gone on a downward spiral since then. Well, not necessarily a downward spiral to the point of where they're going to get relegated, but they just haven't been as consistent as they were in that Premier League campaign, which proves it was kind of once in a lifetime. It was a sort of Blackburn Rovers level type of magic that I don't think we'll ever see again. Although people like Expressions, for example, think Spurs are going to do that, which I'd be very surprised if they do. But we'll have to wait and see, because it's been only one game. So yeah, 2-1 I'm going to predict. I think we'll just about get over the line. Apologies in advance, by the way, for those of you watching this simulation. There's quite a few inconsistencies there, so I didn't realise that Danny Ward from Leicester had changed his number to number 1 until after I'd recorded this, and also I didn't obviously I recorded this sim before what's his name, the bloke with the afro, Hamza Chowdhury. Yeah, I think I took out Tielemans because I thought Tielemans wouldn't play because of the Arsenal, because of his transfer situation. But he might play. So yeah, but I recorded it before Chowdhury went to before he went to Watford, basically. So apologies for those kind of accuracy nerds out there. Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it there because I've spoken for quite a while now. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do a reaction to the game because it's a 3 PM kickoff, and also I've got plans on Saturday around that time. So I just have to follow it via live updates on my phone, on the OneFootball app or on the Premier League app or something like that. And then I'll watch the highlights later and then probably talk about it in the Bournemouth preview later in the week. Hopefully I'm not pissed off when I go to meet my friend on Saturday. And pissed off the next time I speak to you. Anyway, so that's it. Enjoy the rest of the simulation. I will speak to you again, as I said, probably for the Bournemouth preview. So until then, take care and stay safe.
Oh, a goal for Arsenal! It's theirs to lose now.
Well, here it is again. He goes past his marker so easily with just a drop of the shoulder. And from there, he never looked like missing. That's a lovely goal.
Substitution time it is here. So back underway, 3-1 the score. Leicester moving the ball with purpose, but ultimately up a cul-de-sac. Well, we're inside the final quarter of an hour now. Well, there's no getting away from it. Arsenal are cruising, Stuart.
Yeah, this has been a good performance. They've looked really sharp going forward and they've shown a lot of energy. They'll certainly be pleased with their overall display up to now.
Oh, lovely ball. Making progress. And the cross is very much on. Vardy. Just not testing the keeper at all with that cross. And good pressure high up the pitch. And they've reduced the arrears. You never know. They still believe in themselves.
Well, that was a fairly easy finish in the end, but he still had to take it. He won't mind how they come, though.
Substitution time it is.
Leicester City
3-2 it is. Who would have predicted that before a ball was kicked?
Substitution for Arsenal.
Well, by playing keep ball like this, they're keeping the opposition at bay. There might very well be late excitement. 5 minutes left, and the margin just 1. Granit Xhaka. They really look after the ball when they have it. Can he finish this? Well, I think you could call that an escape. It looked a certain goal. Vardy. Down by a goal. This could be the final opportunity to snatch something. The electronic board has been held in the air, and we're going to have a minimum of 4 added minutes. And you've got to keep the ball a bit better than that. Boubakary Soumaré. Went in strongly, decisively. Nketiah. He continues his run. Can he finish them off? Really good diving stop to make sure the threat came to nothing.
Substitution for Leicester City.
And time for the change now.
Number 33, Luke Thomas. To be replaced by number 2, James Justin.
And there's the delivery. William Saliba. Chance here. Oh, good work to them. And so that is that. The referee blows for full time. A victory for Arsenal.
Well, Derek, it was a really tight game, but they were the better side over the 90 minutes, and they fully deserved their victory today.
Well, I don't think, Stuart, anyone can really quibble about what he put into the game.
Well, what more could you ask for? His build-up play was clever, his movement was dynamic, and he scored a couple of goals. What a player he is.
Thank you.